In sports, if you want to be the best, there are no off days.
Welcome into the No Off Days podcast. Chris Cato to my left, BK in the booth. I am Scott Smith, and this is post-Memorial Day, so what'd you do for the big holiday this week, Chris?
How does my tan look?
You look pasty as ever.
I avoided the sun mostly.
Good
It's
for
blazing hot in Florida this time of year. The rainy season hasn't started, so everything's crisp.
Yeah, I was working on Memorial Day, so no big deal. Don't worry about me. I'm not crying.
I watched
I'm fine.
you. I watched.
Did you?
Yeah, no.
Did you think I did good?
Were you on?
Yeah, I worked.
Don't you have underlings that you could make work for you?
I could, but I'm trying to. I have plans this summer. You know, it is the summer.
I know what you're doing.
All, okay?
Yeah, you've got an angle. He's always working an angle.
Always working an angle. Summer's like already among us, and I'm not ready for it as we kind of say goodbye to May, and June's just these are the hot months. These are the bounce from air conditioning to air conditioning. Let's bring in BK. How's the air conditioning in that control room, Brian? I feel like it's extra crispy in there.
It is nice and chilly in here.
Is there meat hanging from the ceiling?
It could be. It's what, 64?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I like the shirt, Brian.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Very summery.
It is. I broke it
it's
out.
Almost like a picnic,
summer.
like a blanket. Like
well,
you would lay. I would place my picnic basket on top of you.
That's his opinion. I think it looks great.
Okay.
Thanks, Cato. I like your shirt too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't wash it.
Oh, it's okay.
Just for you.
It's
What do you guys think about my shirt?
It's good.
It looks summery.
Okay.
It looks like you're ready for summer.
Yeah.
Hey, what do we have on today's big program?
If it's summer, we got to talk NFL, I guess, right?
If it's summer, if it's fall, if it's spring.
Yeah, no, it's always a good time to talk NFL. We're going to bring in a friend of the program here, Carmen Vitali. Ties to the Bay Area. She is moving on up the ranks there. She's now joined Fox Sports, have her own radio show, but she's also covering the NFC North. Yeah. So we'll talk to her about how the NFL is shaping up, and then also get her thoughts on the Bucs and everything.
Okay. Yeah, she's. It's been fun to watch because she was. I mean, it feels like just a minute ago that she was working with the Bucs,
right,
as their team reporter. So now she's off covering other teams. Teams that are not nearly as fun to cover as the Buccaneers, for sure. And then
the Lions. You like the Lions.
Well, that team's pretty
fun.
good. Yeah. And then at the end of the show, BK.
In the show, I thought we'd break out the randomizer before it gets too hot and things shuts down.
Yeah.
So we can go. Yeah, it does. So break it out and maybe do a summer vacation kind of version of randomizer. Right? You can put a filter in the thing. Spit out these summertime questions.
Cool.
Summer questions,
How about
okay.
that?
Yeah, about popsicles and stuff.
Yeah, things like
that. Summertime.
I have heard if you leave the randomizer out in the sun for too long, it gives you that, if you leave your phone out, it says heat warning. It shuts off
down
for a while.
Right when you need it the most.
Keep it covered, please.
Okay. You can boil an egg on top of that randomizer. Okay, very good. Thanks, BK. We'll catch up with you in a minute. If you're listening and you want to watch, go to fox13news.com/nodpod. If you're watching and you want to listen or subscribe, take out your phone, zap that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and there you can find all of our shows. Please subscribe, fox13news.com/nodpod. It may be the summer, Chris, but it seems like we never stop talking about the new world of college football and the implications that are coming out because of the NIL. And, a little closer to home, recently we had this story about Jaden Rashada, former Florida commit. Now he's a backup quarterback at Georgia, but last year he was at Arizona State. He's been around.
Yeah.
Been around the block, has yet to really play significantly. But now he is claiming some fraudulent misrepresentation and inducement. He's basically lodging a lawsuit against Florida head coach Billy Napier. Saying that basically he turned away $9.5 million from an NIL deal that he could have had at Miami. He flipped his commitment because the boosters and the NIL collective there at the time and Napier had promised a certain sum of money, and I guess that is $13.85 million.
$13.85.
My goodness.
For a quarterback in high school.
The deal was signed in November 2022. And there was a $500,000 payment that was due to Rashada on December 5th. This is all reportedly, of course. And
this is according to his lawsuit.
A day after the $500,000 payment was due, the Gator Collective then sent Rashada a termination letter. So they scrapped it. The lawsuit claims that Napier himself was making promises, financial promises of $1 million if he signs on signing day. The suit claims no intent to ever pay. So I'm not sure how exactly they're going to be able to prove that. No comment, of course, from the university. But Rashada is seeking punitive damages upwards of $10 million, Chris.
Yeah.
And this is wild because, I mean, for as many kind of lawsuits that have been simmering and cooking within college football for a variety of reasons, this is the first where a player, an active player at that, is suing a coach, a university, and trying to, basically say, you lied to me. You promised this, and you did not deliver. Now, I think the language in the contract is interesting here because there's no breach of contract issue here, which you would think, well, if you signed a piece of paper and then whatever that said and you didn't fulfill the terms of the contract, then that's a problem, right? You can see the litigious issue with there. But apparently these NIL deals, they can be broken at any time. And that's part of the language. So that's not claimed here by Rashada's side. He's not saying that there was a breach of contract. He's saying that it was a fraudulent misrepresentation.
And that representation prevented me from taking advantage of a real NIL offer that I had from Miami.
Right.
That's why he has set that dollar amount at trying to recoup basically what he says Miami would have paid him.
Yeah. I think that at the end of this story, which it's very messy, and you can go through the 40-some-odd page lawsuit, whatever. The love of money is the root of all kinds of college football evil. I think that's evident here. I mean, so right, like you could see both sides of this. If a coach is promising something to a player, and the coach doesn't deliver. Well, and assuming that is what happened in this situation, I mean, I'm not assuming that, but I can see it from that vantage point, right? Like, if you make a promise, keep the promise.
Right.
If you sign a paper, whatever it is. On the other side, you have these coaches that are feeling like we are in this brave new world. I have to overpromise on everything. This is the world that we live in. So I have, these kind of entitled athletes that not only want playing time, not only want to wear your brand, not only want to play football, but that you got to pay them now. So it's like, it's hard to figure out exactly who's in the right, who's in the wrong in this situation. I would think the burden of proof, obviously, is on Rashada to come up with some. You're going to have to prove that Billy Napier actually made these promises to you. I mean, and if he promised I'm going to pay you $1 million, because now that's the one thing that has been wrong. The coaches cannot be involved in the monetary.
Right.
So they can't be, I'm going to pay you $1 million.
At least not now. There are some, legislative changes coming, but right now.
Yeah, but
when
especially
this happened,
back then.
Right, yeah.
So coaches cannot do that. So if there's some type of proof that happened in email,
text
something
message,
like that,
whatever it is.
Then, I mean, there could be some consequences for that.
Right.
But it just reeks of, of a guy going out and trying to get his bag. That's what it feels like. He didn't get his $10 million at Miami. He didn't get his $14 million at University of Florida, and now he's suing to try to recoup those costs. Even though he's at Georgia, and I assume he's probably getting some type of NIL deal there.
You would think so. But if all of these facts that he has laid out in this federal lawsuit, if this is true, though, isn't that fair of him if he could have had $10 million from Miami, and there's nothing to suggest that he couldn't have, because they were in a bidding war with Florida when this happened. If that's the case, and Florida really misrepresented this, and you're talking about National Signing Day where they took it down to the wire, where he says Napier is on the phone with his dad saying, we've got $1 million, we can wire you right now if he signs that letter of intent right now on National Signing Day. So he's up against the clock. He signs it. At that point, he doesn't have any other options, right? I mean, any other school that's looking for a big-time quarterback has already gone out and found someone. So if truly this prevented him from getting $10 million from Miami, doesn't he have a point? I mean, it's easy to say, well, this is just greedy and everything, but if someone prevented me from getting $10 million, I'd be a little upset about it.
It's not a matter of whether he has a point. It's whether he has a case.
Right.
And this is the issue. Like, if I have an NIL deal with you that's I scrap and it's not a breach of contract, then what are you standing on? Other than the issue here, if Napier made that promise and you could prove that, I don't think. How can you prove that there was? Because this was a almost $14 million offer for the length of his time.
4 years.
Yeah. So how can you prove that there was never an intent to pay this? How can you prove
Well,
that?
I think first of all, I don't think that, and he's hired this attorney, I don't have the name in front of me, who's very good at this stuff. He's represented.
It's Rusty Hardin.
Yeah. So I don't think that Rusty Hardin would have gotten, and apparently this has been in motion since, right after it happened. Now it's just now getting to the point where it's filed in federal court. I don't think they would take it to this point of having it introduced in federal court if they didn't have at least something. Text messages, phone calls, witness statements.
In this world nowadays, lawsuits can be brought simply for the fact that they know that you will settle. If they're going after deep pockets. Now I don't know, right? We don't know what actually transpired here, but you can make a lawsuit for anything
just
and,
to try
and
to
hope to settle, and just so Jaden Rashada can go away. Like that could be a thing that the university is looking at and saying, look, we just don't. It's not worth it. The longer our name is attached to this guy, the more we're having to defend it. We're having to answer questions about it. We're not promoting the brand that we want out there. And so let's just pay him off and get this over with. I mean, that could very well happen, and maybe that's what Rashada's in it for. I don't know.
Well, if that happens, that's going to open the floodgates. Everyone's going to be going. A lot of players are going to go after these kind of settlements. Obviously, Florida does not want this to come to a courtroom, because then you invite discovery. Then you have to open up cell phones, text messages, emails, and all of that. So yeah, it probably is headed to a settlement.
Here's part of. It's hard to assign blame. This is something that has been created.
I think it's easy to assign blame.
Well, to who specifically? Because this is an
environment.
environment.
I think
this is an environment that has been created now.
But for decades, coaches, I think, have been promising things and then going back on what they originally offered.
So what? I mean,
well, so what? Now that if you making an offer, if you make an offer that you're not going to really fulfill, and it deprives me from getting something that was tangible, that's a problem. I would have a problem.
Do you know
with that
forever? Scholarship offers are yearly. They can always be pulled. You don't get a 4-year scholarship offer. It's individual. Year after year, you have to earn it. Like at any point, since the beginning, they could have pulled a scholarship. So you have to earn it as a player too. It's an agreement on both sides. And right now I have a hard time feeling pity for players that have the most free agency they've ever had, and they use it as much as they possibly can. Yeah. And leverage it to the point where they're bouncing every year and making giant sums of money, and there's no loyalty to a program. I understand college football is partially to blame. I think the fact that the money is dangling out there for the players, how can you not be about the money at that point when you're 18 years old and then you got parents involved, say, yeah, go get make us millions. But at the same time, this is an environment that's been created because there was no oversight. There's never been any oversight. The NCAA is nothing now, right? They have not been able to control this issue, and so I kind of do desire to see how the sausage is made, to have this become such an explosive issue that college football has to then bring in some actual regulations. Yeah, that there has to be something uniform. There has to be free agency. There has to be a salary cap.
Transparency.
Let's treat it like a professional sports league, to where we know what's going on, whose money is going where, how much is getting paid to this person. Because right now it's all under the cloak of darkness, and it really pulls at a college football fan's heart to be there's an element of this that I really hate. I really hate it. It's changed the way the game is played. It's changed the way teams are built and acquired and how long they last. And it's just not fun. The fact that money has been introduced into this, is...
I agree with that. I fully agree with that. And it invites things like this.
Right.
And I do think we're headed, because of things like this, we are headed for a day where it's all transparent.
I don't really care how much money the kid makes. That's not really the point. It's what happens, right? If we're just pursuing money, then at this level, it gets ugly and it gets messy. And now, yeah, if he wins this case, and if he's right by the law, then he should win the case. But what else? Well, then what's next? What's that next shoe that's going to drop? How nasty is this going to be?
Well, it could be for Billy Napier if they can prove that he had direct contact and promised $1 million. This is not. If you're Billy Napier, and we all have said that this is a hot seat season for him, but we've also said, wow, he's got a $25 million buyout at the end of this season. I don't think the Gators want to touch that. What's the antidote? What's the kryptonite to a buyout?
Yeah,
firing someone with cause.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. That being said, best portal acquisitions here in the offseason, guys. What do we like? Who's your number one portal acquisition? The guy that took that big fat stack of cash because all he cares about is the money. No, I'm just kidding. Who was it?
He didn't go to Clemson. I can tell you that.
You guys got one?
I've got several. You know this. Yeah, I'm ready for this.
All right, hit me with one.
I want BK to go first because a couple of weeks ago when we had some of our biggest storylines heading into the season, he said his favorite one was what, BK?
It's Cam Ward.
It's Cam Ward.
Yeah, let's just start with Cam Ward.
But why? But this is huge for Cristobal, and we thought Tyler Van Dyke was going to be that guy, and he wasn't. But why is Cam Ward different, and how is this going to impact the 2024 season?
I think Cam Ward's different because he's bringing 14,000 yards and 73 passing touchdowns with him to Miami. Plus, he's bringing. They got 2 recruits or 2 other transfers, receivers. Forget the schools you probably know that are big-time receivers, and that's what this team needed. I mean, they were a quarterback off a little bit. We expected high things with Tyler last year, but this is it. And I honestly think they're flying under the radar. This could be a solid team.
You're thinking they're ACC contenders.
I mean, they've never made the championship game, which is astounding. But this could be the year they make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they're sneaking up on anybody. I mean, again, they've had like top 5 recruiting classes the last 2 years, and they have killed it in the portal. So
if they can just keep Cristobal from calling plays or making decisions on fourth downs, they'll be okay.
He's a good coach. He's a good
coach.
coach.
He is. Yeah.
I think Riley Leonard to Notre Dame is going to be a good fit. So I think what he did at Duke was great. I think you put some more resources around him, marquee games with those Irish, and I think he's going to flourish. So
I'll tell you what, you look at Notre Dame's schedule, they might be 11-1. I mean, with Riley Leonard in there, that's
nice.
Usually they've got one of the hardest schedules, all the travel. It lines up pretty well for them this year. That's a good one. One of mine was one that was probably the most heartbreaking for me after Saban announced his retirement, and that was Caleb Downs, the safety that was all SEC. He was the National Freshman of the Year. He was the first ever freshman to lead Alabama in tackles last year. And more than that, he was the guy that even the upperclassmen on the team listened to in the locker room. He was they called him, he was like a little version of Coach Saban. And and so Ohio State gets him, and he's going to immediately make their secondary better. He started their spring game. And Ohio State secondary, if you think about that already, their defense was first in the nation last year in passing yards allowed, and they lost a couple pieces to the NFL, but he's plugging right in there, and he's going to be a day one impact player for a Ryan Day team that, probably will find itself playing for a national championship.
Well, it's Will Howard that is he their starting quarterback?
He hasn't named a starter yet, but you think if they went out and got him from Kansas State, one of the top quarterbacks in the portal, you would think the intention is to start him. But they really like Devin Brown there too, so he hasn't named a starter yet.
I like Dylan Gabriel, Oklahoma to Oregon. That's an interesting dynamic that they have because they obviously got a couple of guys. What's the gentleman from UCLA that they
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore. So he's a couple of years younger, so I think that's going to be kind of the quarterback in waiting. But I think Gabriel, it feels a little bit like Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Different skill set a little bit, but here comes a guy that's experienced. He knows how to run multiple different offenses. This is not his first time transferring, and they're gonna put some weapons around him there in Eugene. So
yeah, I love that. I think he's going to fit right in with Will Stein's offense there, which is so dependent on accuracy, and that's what Bo Nix led the nation last year in completion percentage. Gabriel was a 69% completion guy at Oklahoma, so I think it's going to be seamless. I think the Ducks are going to make a lot of noise in the Big Ten. Yeah, noises like that. You got any others, BK?
It's more not so much impact. I'm just kind of curious to see how the fit will work. Isaiah Bond at Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy had the biggest catch with Alabama last year, and he kind of came on at the end of the year. How's that going to translate to Texas with Ewers, pitching it to him and everything, and the whole Steve Sarkisian offense? And I'm kind of curious to see that. And also KJ Jefferson over at UCF.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think he's a better thrower than Plumlee. And
just
maybe,
as good of a runner or better.
I think he's a much better runner, and I think maybe Pittman kind of held him back from running so much up at Arkansas. This guy's a beast, and
he's huge.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to see how that works out.
I thought that was a good plug by Gus Malzahn. To your point on Isaiah Bond, I think he's going to be an alpha there. He was pretty inconsistent at Bama, but he's got that elite speed, gets behind the defense. And the Longhorns lost their top 3 pass catchers to the NFL, top 4 counting their running back, Jonathan Brooks. So I think he's going to be, day one impact player for the Longhorns.
Do we like DJU at Florida State? How are we on that? If you had to rate that out of 5 stars, what would your Yelp rating be on the DJU to FSU?
I don't hate it.
Okay, so that sounds like 2.5 stars.
Is
3?
he better than what they had there? Probably so.
Better than what they had?
No, they had.
No, not better.
He's a
Jordan
big downgrade
what
from
they
Jordan.
have on staff right now.
Oh,
yeah, not Jordan, but
well, I'd say maybe 3 stars.
Yeah, I'll give 3.
I was surprised that they went that route, and it may work wonderfully. Our good colleague Mark Wilson thinks it will, and Mark's usually right about things.
Yeah.
But didn't Cam Ward, wasn't that one of the schools he visited? And I just thought they would have a bigger splash.
That would have been,
and DJ, if you look at it, he was the same player at Oregon State last year, pretty much. He was at the Clemson the year before that. About a 57% completion percentage guy, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Doesn't really use his legs. I don't know, but I've circled October 5th when Clemson comes to Tallahassee.
Yeah, I think Norvell. I think very highly of Mike Norvell, and I think his ability to make his quarterback, operate in the best and most efficient system possible is not to be overlooked. So, I mean, I think if there's a guy that's going to draw the best out of him from a schematic offensive standpoint, I think it's going to be Mike Norvell. So there could be, we could be seeing a different type of DJ Uyanglele.
How many stars did you give?
I mean, I'm right there, probably around 3, just based on kind of what I've seen to this point. But yeah, we'll see. I also like the Colby Young. He was former Miami Hurricane receiver. He ended up with Georgia. I think big 6'5" kid, got a big wingspan. I think he could be an instant star for the Bulldogs. So
I like to your receivers. I like Evan Stewart from Texas A&M to Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. What a great pickup. I like my favorite one is Graham Nicholson, Brian. You know who Graham Nicholson is? He was the Lou Groza Award winner last year.
There you go.
At Miami, Ohio.
Yeah.
And now?
Now, kicking field goals for Bama.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, just plugging right in there for Will Reichard.
What's his name again?
Graham Nicholson.
Graham Nicholson.
Yeah, get that NIL bag ready for Graham. He's coming for it.
Get a load of me. All right, very good. All right, thanks, BK. Coming up on the other side, we're going to talk a little NFL football. Carmen Vitali joins us. She covers the NFC North for Fox and has her own little Fox radio show. We're going to catch up with her, get her thoughts as we bounce around the NFL. Stay with us when the Nod Pod continues. Chris, you can catch our guest covering the NFC North for Fox Sports and recently added to the weekend lineup for Fox Sports Radio. Former Tampa Bay Bucs team reporter Carmen Vitali is our guest. Congratulations on the new radio gig, Carmen. Now, I know that you're living in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I go between Chicago and LA
Okay.
now. It's quite the lifestyle.
Well, yeah. And I'm not sure that there's many months in the year that I would swap Tampa and Chicago weather, but I think right about now is the sweet spot, right? How's the weather in the Windy City right now?
Yeah, no, Chicago. It's actually pretty hot in Chicago right now. So going back and forth between two climates that can be drastically different is always fun. But I spend a lot of the season in Chicago, so I don't get to avoid the cold, but that's okay. I grew up there.
Yeah, no, you're thick-skinned. You got it. Spring has certainly sprung. Not just here, but from a figurative standpoint in Chicago with what they're doing there in that draft. Caleb Williams' era has now officially begun, but the Bears kind of pick a bad time to have this reclamation project because, well, the rest of the NFC North is about as competitive as they've been in years, with the Lions probably playing their best football ever in franchise history. The Packers are one of the scary young teams in the league. So what's the path forward? Like, what is a reasonable expectation for Bears fans as they go into this season?
Well, like I mentioned before, I grew up in Chicago, and I know how this fan base can be. I've watched this team forever. There is no kind of trepidation in expectations. It's either they're going to be terrible or they're going to win the Super Bowl, and that's what we're seeing right now. Bears fans are oscillating between, all right, they got rid of Justin Fields. He was a fan favorite. Everybody was down in the dumps, and now all of a sudden, now that the plan has become evident that Ryan Poles put in place now 3 off seasons ago, everybody's excited and thinking that the Bears are going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm trying to kind of temper expectations in Chicago. This is the thing. I've never seen a whole lot of offense growing up. That's why I'm such a defensive girl. And that's why I got along so well in Tampa Bay with all of the defensive coaches. I don't know what this iteration of the Chicago Bears is going to look like because I've never seen flashy offense. You have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, now Rome Odunze to pair with one of the best prospects we've seen at the quarterback position in years. So I fully expect them to have this figured out. But if it doesn't go well right away, it might just take a little bit of time to gel. And that's what I want to caution Bears fans to give the Bears, give them some grace. Let's just get to a winning record first. Let's just beat the Packers, guys. Beat the Packers, get to a winning record. Caleb Williams should be able to blow the rookie quarterback records out of the water. The Bears have never had a rookie quarterback pass for more than 11 touchdowns in a season.
Wow.
So it should be doable. In fact, the quarterback records in general should be kind of doable for Caleb Williams, given that they've never had a 30 touchdown passer. They've never had a 4,000 yard passer in franchise history. So the bar is on the floor when it comes to that kind of stuff. Let's get there. Let's get to a winning record, flirt with playoff contention, and then we'll see about winning the division. But you've got the Packers and the Lions that want to say something about that.
You sound way too reasonable.
I know, she really does. I bet all of Chicago doesn't have the same mindset.
Oh, no, I'm like public enemy number 1 in Chicago. People do not want to hear what I have to say when it comes to the Bears because they're like, no, this is it. We're going to do it. Stop being a Debbie Downer. And I'm like, my heart has been broken too many times by this team growing up. So
How is Caleb embracing Chicago? You know, he obviously Heisman Trophy winner, was sometimes a little, I feel, unliked in college football with that high-profile position at USC. A guy that has a certain personality. How is he? Is he like all in on the Windy City there?
He is, and he never shied away from it. I mean, I love smokescreen season before the draft happens because there's all of these things. Well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And this should mean that, and that should mean this. All you can go off of are the actions of players, the actions of teams. And the actions that were taken leading up to the draft was Caleb Williams took one top 30 visit. He went to one team, and it was the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. So that to me tells me this was always the plan. There was no mystery involved. This was their guy for months and months and months. So Caleb Williams has had months to prepare for this market, to prepare for these expectations. And again, I go back to the fact that he was at USC in Los Angeles, which is the second largest media market in the country. And yet the biggest thing to come out about this kid is that he likes to paint his nails, or that he wants to go hug his mom when he had a bad loss. I mean, the fact that I'm not at all concerned of his character or being able to handle being under the limelight, because he's been under the limelight for years. He's made millions of dollars. He already has a team in place that helps keep the machine of his endorsement deals and the business side of things running, so he can just focus on football. I have no doubt in my mind that Caleb Williams is come in and embrace Chicago. I mean, you already saw him every press conference he signs off with the Bears, and he started the little claw thing, which is actually a Northwestern thing that nobody's like talking about it because Northwestern football just hasn't been super real.
So it's a wildcat.
And as a graduate,
it's a wildcat paw.
As a graduate of Northwestern, I can say that. Okay. But now he's adopting it for the Chicago Bears, and it's really taken hold with the rookies. So he's diving in head first, and I really appreciate that.
When you talk NFC North, it starts with the Detroit Lions. We did our power rankings a couple weeks ago between Chris and I, and for what they're not worth a whole lot, but not worth the paper they're written on. But we had in our NFC top 5, we had both the Lions and the Packers in there. But the one thing that impressed me about the Lions is that they follow that 2022 season where they finish real strong. They win 8 of their last 10. Expectations are high. Then what do in 23? They punch Kansas City in the mouth right out of the gates, and they live up to the expectation. They fall a win short to miss the playoffs in 22. They fall a win short of making the Super Bowl in 23. So you heap these expectations on a franchise that knows nothing about this. They don't know anything about success. And yet here they are, this new identity, and it starts, I think, from the front office down. But what makes this team so well kind of equipped to deal with the expectation that's placed on them?
All of the Detroit Lions focus is inward, and it's been like that since Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes took over. That has been such a wonderful thing to be able to witness. Like, covering these guys is so much fun. That locker room is so special. They're so tight knit. They are all legitimately friends. They actually remind me of the Bucs locker room in a lot of ways. And now that I've gone out and kind of covered multiple teams, you realize that that's not a given. These guys wholeheartedly believe in themselves, and they believe in Detroit. That's the symbiosis or the symbiotic relationship that they have with the city and that the city has with them. They don't shy away from putting that grittiness, that toughness, that blue collar, whatever it is about Detroit. That's what the Detroit Lions are. And they take pride in that, pun intended, I guess. And I think that they really want it for the city itself. And they know, Detroit has struggled first with the 2008 crisis, then with the pandemic. And this team has now been a shining beacon of what Detroit can be. And they take that very seriously. So that's not really quantitative. It's not something that you can measure in stats and numbers and everything. But when I was in that locker room, when the Lions lost the NFC Championship in Santa Clara, and every single one of them was pissed. They weren't just happy they made it that far. They weren't just happy to have lived up to the expectations that were placed on them that season. They were pissed that they came a half away from being in the Super Bowl and had it ripped away from them. So they will have all the motivation they need. If you don't think Dan Campbell is going to sit there every practice being like, remember what that was like? Right. Remember what that was like? Remember what it was like to be so close and come so close and not get it? They have all of the intangibles, and they also walk the walk when it comes to making sure their players feel valued and appreciated. We've seen that with the contracts that have come down, most recently Jared Goff, but before that it was Penei Sewell. Before that it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think the nation, or the league itself, really understood how valued Amon-Ra St. Brown is and how critical he is to the Detroit offense. And they paid him like it. They paid him over $30 million. And he is deserving of it. But I think it caught a lot of people by surprise that they were willing to pay him top tier receiver money. But that's how much they believe in their guys. And because of that, those guys give them everything back.
All right, hold that thought, Carmen. On the other side, we will have more with you. And I'm curious what your travel schedule looks like for 2024. And make sure your passport is updated, because I got a question about whether or not you are going to Brazil. Stay with us. The Nod Pod continues right after this.
Carmen, outside of the NFC North, give me a couple of NFC teams that you feel like had really good, in your opinion, off seasons in terms of the draft and free agency, and let one of those teams be the Bucs.
It's wonderful, actually, because I no longer obviously cover the Bucs, but I'm still a fan, and I still have so many wonderful relationships within the organization. So I'm rooting for them all the time. And I know that this is probably still coming from a biased place, but I loved their draft. Graham Barton was one of my draft crushes.
Is it because of his giant muscular legs? He has the biggest legs I've ever seen.
The trunk. Andy Reid was onto something when he talked about linemen's butts in particular. But honestly, I love the position flexibility and the athleticism that you're going to need. I'm really interested to see what this Bucs kind of run scheme looks like under new offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. I want to see some more creativity because the Bucs run game has been lacking the last few years, and it lacked imagination. It was basically one play over and over and over again. We don't need to keep getting into that. But I do think that there's going to be some differences this year and more creativity that's going to unlock a lot of things for guys like Rashad White, who I went to undergrad at Arizona State. Rashad has been like my little Bucs crush, I guess. He's such a wonderful guy outside of football, and then on the field, I think has some real talent. So hopefully they can unlock that. And I love how the Bucs have just constantly been overlooked and underestimated, yet this is the team that's won the NFC South the last 3 years. I get that the NFC South hasn't been the toughest division in football, but the fact that they've had so much success and been able to continue that success after Tom Brady left, there's something to be said for that. So I really expect them to still make noise in the NFC South, still vie for playoff contention yet again. My heart was like split in two when it came to that Lions Buccaneers game, and I was in Detroit. I covered that game, and I was just like, you know what, I hope everybody has fun in all of that. But I do think that the Bucs can make some noise there kind of out of nowhere. I am really looking forward to seeing what the Rams can do out in LA, because of the fact that I think they had a wonderful draft. Obviously there's no replacing a guy like Aaron Donald, but they took some measures all along the defense in their draft, and they actually made draft picks this year, a first round draft pick. And I really think that they're going to kind of come out the gate and be really, really competitive. Sean McVay went through whatever he went through, and now I feel like he's rejuvenated and he has a lot to work with. So I'm going to those are kind of sleeper picks, I guess, for people that maybe aren't paying attention, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams really, really make some noise this year.
Yeah, they just looked at the Florida big board, and they just said, give us the best players out of the state of Florida. And they drafted a couple from Florida State. They got Cam Kinchins from down in Miami. So,
good
I
formula.
think they did pretty well. Hey, speaking of covering games, are you going to Brazil to cover the Packers-Eagles game?
TBD. I don't know. So I obviously am pushing for that, but it's one of those things too where you it's either that or it's Caleb Williams' debut. I mean, I'm not under any illusion that I'm going to be able to fly right back. Even though that game's on a Friday, that'd be cutting it kind of close. So
yeah, if our vote means anything, I think Brazil. I think you got to do Brazil.
I know. Thank you. I will take that to my editors and say, listen, the guys down in Tampa think I should go to Brazil too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And they also want you to bring a couple of Tampa guys along too, for some reason.
Fill out the coverage a little bit. But honestly, this game, not only am I interested just to see the spectacle that is a game down there, but this is a huge game between the Packers and the Eagles, two teams that I could easily see both of them finding their way into the Super Bowl this season. And I could also see a scenario in which neither one of them make the playoffs. I feel like this is week one, heavyweight bout. It's gonna tell us a lot, right? Right out of the gates.
I'm honestly a little surprised that when the schedule makers did this, they put, obviously we knew the Eagles were going to be there. I'm kind of shocked that they did put the Packers down there with them, because it is such a big game and the Packers are such a draw. I mean, talk about a team that they come from the smallest market, but they have one of the largest fan bases because they're such a national team.
Well, cheese is very big in Sao Paulo. We all know that.
Obviously. I don't know if they have the Swiss cheese with the holes in it though. I think that they'll see the cheese heads and be like, what is
that's too silly for them.
We'll put some holes in it for them.
Yeah.
But I love that matchup. I'm really interested to see what happens there. After watching Green Bay so closely all last season, I have no doubt in my mind they're going to continue to ascend. Part of what I got on the Jordan Love train really, really early. And the reason for that was
That's
not
another
only,
pun. That's another pun. I love it.
train.
Okay,
Love
all right,
train. Love train.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God. There's so much you can do with Jordan's last name. But I talked to a bunch of coaches in those first few games. If I knew a coach on the opposing team that just played Jordan Love, I texted them and I was like, hey, what did you think? What is he going to be? How is his, what do you see out of him? And every single coach told me whatever it is, he has it. That he is going to be an incredible player in this league. And that was unanimous across the board for multiple coaches, multiple teams all across the league. So I got on board of that train early. And then all you saw was Jordan needing to get on the same page as his receivers and his receivers needing to get on the same page as him. I mean, there's so many tiny little nuances when it comes to an offense that can evolve. And then Matt LaFleur needed to trust his team to open the playbook up a little bit more. And you saw that happen halfway through the season, and they took it and literally ran with it to the divisional round where they stomped the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T, where they had won something like 16 straight up until that point. So I have no doubt in my mind that the Packers could legitimately be Super Bowl contenders this year. And with the Eagles and with the reset that kind of Howie Roseman did this offseason, I'm such a fan of his. I trust him implicitly. Also, I just don't think you have that many Georgia Bulldogs on one team, and it doesn't work out for you.
So. Right? It's just simple math. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, she's a passenger on the Love Train, and she's part of the Graham Barton Crush Club, and she's get her passport punched to Sao Paulo in just a matter of months. We're keeping our fingers crossed on that. Carmen Vitali, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. Awesome. Good stuff. So there you go. A little bit of insight from around the league, and that would be a fun trip, man. I mean, going to Sao Paulo, that's the first game, right?
It is. Yeah,
South America.
I need to get my passport renewed. They might send us. You never know.
Yeah, fat chance. But, all right, stay with us on the other side. More fun and shenanigans. BK joins us on the other side. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. All right, it's time to fire up that randomizer. Let's bring in BK. It has been a few weeks since we've last done this. It is maybe our favorite segment. Right?
Yeah, and
I think it's fair to say.
Second favorite.
To Nodpod Gazette?
I like Nodpod Gazette.
Really?
I'm a big Gazette guy.
No.
I like the old print. I'm old school. I like the
Yeah.
print media.
Let's fire it up, BK.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Who's going to go first?
I'll go. I like this. Is this still voice activated?
It is voice activated.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, stop.
What is the first childhood memory that comes to mind when you think of summer?
Band
Childhood
camp.
memories.
Got to be band camp.
Really?
No. Wasn't privileged enough. It's got to be the river. The river that we would swim in. We were, grew up, as we talked ad nauseum on this podcast, grew up on a farm, in a van down by the river. No, grew up, in a rural area in Alabama.
A lot of snakes in that river?
There not a lot, but there was the occasional water moccasin. Okay. Got to watch out for those. But no, we had beautiful little river runs through the property there, and summer came, those hot days came. You just ran, tore through the pasture, stripping off the shirt, jumping right. Oh, it's so cold. It's
those naked Cato boys.
It's spring. We weren't naked, but if we'd had been, no one would have been around to see. But spring fed, so you're talking like if you get close to where the springs come in, it's below 70 degrees.
Springs from the mattress that was tossed in the creek?
Radiator springs. That'll cool you off in a heartbeat. Yeah, I had so many good family picnics down there on that river. I was baptized in that river. Awesome. I got bitten by a lot of horse flies in that river. That is it. It is the river for me. You cool the watermelons down in the spring as you're waiting. I mean, just summer. It was great.
Chris grew up in 1926. What was the name of the river?
The Little Fork of the Black Warrior. No, the Mulberry Fork of the Locust Fork River.
Okay.
Mulberry Fork of the Locust Fork.
Somebody's going to Google image that. They're going to find the Cato compound.
You can smell it before you see it. It's highly polluted.
I think my first memory that I think of summer. So I was born in up there in Oregon.
You were, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit different than you. We didn't have fences in our backyard, but we of course had neighbors, and so I remember the neighbor boys. They would come over and they'd play, and we would do this big water gun battle.
Yeah, there you go.
We'd run through everybody's backyard, And I remember my mom. She would, she got to hold the trash can lid as her shield and the hose, and just drive that with full force right into our faces. Yeah. So water gun fights in the backyard. That's what I remember.
Yeah, that's good.
How about you, BK?
Mine is probably, it seemed like every vacation, I don't know if Cato was the same way, but there in Alabama, our vacation spot was Panama City. And just every year, every summer, we'd go to Panama City and we'd meet like my grandmother down there and we'd all stay in a place. And so even now when I drive back to Panama City, I haven't been back here in years, you just get that feeling of, childhood again. You
guys would go to probably...
you're probably one of about 5 people that have that feeling when they go back to Panama City.
Yeah, no, I think a lot do.
Spring break location, right?
Yeah, you would go to Club La Vila. Where else did your family go? Spinnaker. Where's the place where they fire the cannon at sunset? Schooners. You had all those. Yeah.
No,
they did have. No, it was huge for families too in the summer. They had a water park there and everything. Yeah.
It was a blast.
Good old PCB.
Fire up.
All right, you ready?
Round 2. Let's do it. Stop.
All right. Would you rather spend your vacation exploring a new city or relaxing on a tropical island?
Oh, I get bored too easily. So I'm an exploratory guy. I like to go navigate a city. I got to be on the move when I'm on vacation. So yeah, give me a new city.
I bet you're really annoying to vacation with.
Super, yeah.
I bet you.
That's why I only vacation with my wife. She's just like me, so we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
can't vacation with other people because
it's good that you. It's good that. Can I say her name on this podcast?
No. You may
okay.
Not.
It's good that
you may never say her
name. It's good that Bleep is exactly like you, or else you would drive. Because I can picture your partner getting sick of, getting really happy about being at this one museum, and you're like, "Come on, let's go."
I like to go. I like to see
it's
things.
Time to keep
I like
moving.
to be on the move. Come on.
Yeah, OCD Scotty going about the city. I would agree with you though. I'd rather. I feel like. Well, no.
So you bag on me, but then you agree. Okay.
I wouldn't want a vacation with you, but I do love exploring a new city. Plus, I kind of feel like we live on a tropical island here in the Tampa Bay area.
A little bit.
A lot of beaching, a lot of lounging around by the pool. So yeah, I want to go. I want to eat the different foods. I want to meet some locals. I want to see some things. Sure.
Speak their dialect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably insult them in their own language and not realize it, but it's okay. I'm an American.
All right.
Yeah, the difference with this.
I know BK's you want the relaxation.
Right?
I
do, man, because the tropical island is same as here, but the only difference is that you got deadlines here now. You go on these exploring a city, you're against a deadline. You got to hit this tour at a certain time. You're always constantly on a deadline.
Well,
it depends.
I don't want that on a vacation.
You make your own schedule,
I know, but you're on a schedule. Why not just go to a place, chill out, read a book, couple drinks, and then boom.
I don't know. I could do that at home.
We should explore those cities in Missouri we talked about last
That
week.
would be good. Yeah.
Oh, Bryan and what was it? Scott
City.
Yeah.
I actually looked them up last night. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
And...
Oh, stop.
All right. Would you rather cliff dive on your vacation or be submersed in a cage in shark-infested water?
Come on.
Easy.
Right. I'll take this one first.
Yeah. Well, you don't even need.
We don't need to ask Scott. I'm afraid of heights. So, and I've seen a lot of these videos of people going down in the cages with the sharks, and I've never seen anything go wrong there. I feel like
I have.
I have
seen a shark get in the cage.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It's out there.
It's bound to happen.
Google it.
But I'd rather take my.
Sneaky sharks. They get into that cage every once in a while.
I'd rather take my chances with the shark getting into the cage. That I am petrified of anything. Yes.
Why do you even want to see it? Why would? What
cool.
is amusing about watching sharks with their giant teeth trying to jaw at your face? What? How is that fun?
Hear me out. It's not a matter of I'm thinking that's such a fun activity that I've got to do. It's a matter of he gave us a choice here.
You don't
I'm avoiding.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't. The only way I'm cliff diving is if there's a gun to my head, or there's a herd of wildebeest stampeding toward me, or the IRS has found me or something. But I picture myself. You've seen how high these guys jump from. I'm picturing myself splitting open if I over rotate or something, and then the sharks come. Then I don't have a cage.
Yeah. He died. Classic case of over-rotation. My goodness. Yeah. I mean, I love cliff diving. I've done it multiple times.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
I have, and it's a lot of fun. Repeated activities. Yeah, it's fun to drop from a high distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks awful. What do you
What about
think,
you,
BK?
I'm with Cato.
Yeah.
Give
Shark
me the
cages.
Sharks. Less chance of getting hurt in a
Yeah.
cage than jumping off a cliff.
What?
And it's
Maybe
not
Scott can jump off a cliff.
Being
I jump
surrounded
off a
by
cliff.
man-eaters, you feel safe. Okay.
But you're in
Go
a
for it.
cage, and just keep your fingers to yourself, and yeah.
What if you slip? What if you're like, oh, whoa, I'm losing my balance. I
and
got to
your arm
grab
goes
onto
out of
something.
the
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
next thing you know, it's gone.
And what if you slip off the cliff and bang your head Greg
No, there's
Louganis
water.
style
There's
on the
water
way?
down below.
Whap. I've seen some nasty. You've seen the shark video. I've seen some nasty cliff dive.
I have
videos.
too, yeah.
I have cat-like reflexes and balance, so.
Yeah, well then you should punch the shark in the face when it comes after you.
All right.
All right, you want one
Yes.
more? Here we go.
Stop.
Collaborate. Listen.
Would you rather have an unlimited budget for your vacation or unlimited time for your vacation?
You know what we're getting into here? Is that
What are-
BK? It's the summer doldrums. BK is just dreaming about vacation. He
really
just wants
is.
to get out of here. He's like, I just want to nap for 14 days. Can I
guarantee-
just sleep on a beach for 14
and read a
days?
book. He said read a book earlier.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, he's not reading a book.
I've
He's
not
trust
read
me,
a
he's
book
falling
in
asleep.
10 years.
Look, I mean, is it my response?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want unlimited time, right? But I think what you're asking is unlimited time on said vacation. And I feel like every vacation, no matter how great it is, like you always get to a point where you're like, okay,
I miss
I'm
home.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want a little bit more of the schedule that Brian hates so much. Like I want to see
I want that deadline.
I want to see my coworkers and my kids and do things and do normalcy of life. So, but a budget, I mean, if I had an unlimited budget, then my 2-week vacation, man, it would be fantastic. So give me the budget.
Yeah, same. I mean, I feel like I do like the idea of unlimited time, but then again, you would get to the point where you're always on vacation.
Yeah.
It-
You
it-
could do
it-
that, actually. You
it-
could have unlimited time if you wanted to.
But then you run out of money.
You
And
just get fired.
what good is
That's right. Yeah.
what good is unlimited time if you run out of a budget? Then
Yeah.
you're like BK.
Yeah,
you're
you're
sitting
like,
there.
this is the worst
reading a
vacation
book.
ever.
The book is over your eyes as you sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give me a short-term vacation with an unlimited budget. I'm going to have the best accommodations. I'm going to have all the accoutrements. I'm going to have the finest foods and
Yeah.
wines and
Rather
cheeses.
than a 4-month vacation, you're eating out of trash cans. What would you prefer, though, BK?
I would prefer the unlimited budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Why,
wrong.
did
I
that
was wrong.
surprise you?
A little bit.
A
yeah.
little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, no, unlimited budget. I can always, go back on another vacation.
I could buy the best shark cage ever made
I,
with that unlimited budget.
Not getting through this time. I lost my arm in the last one, but
I learned my lesson.
yeah, well, that was fun.
Yeah, now I'm surprised Brian's still in the control room there. It hasn't already gone on vacation. Like there's an
I'm
empty.
out the
know.
door.
He's out the door. Okay. Take the randomizer with you.
Yeah,
I
It
will,
is-
okay.
It deserves a break.
All right.
we don't want it to overheat. Okay. Cool.
Thanks,
BK.
guys.
Thank you so much. Much thanks to our guest, Carmen Vitali, for giving us her insights from around the league.
And making us want to go to Brazil.
And all the crew here at NodPod headquarters. We got Mariah over on the jib. We got
She's the
Chris
best.
on the ones and twos in
Hey,
the
Chris.
booth in that meat locker of a control room. And then thank you to yourself.
Don't we have Ron on audio
That-
too?
Is Ron doing audio? Ron gone wrong. I mean Sarah. Sarah's on audio.
Sarah,
Yes.
thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. We've never sounded better. Well, I have. I don't know about Chris. Until the next time we are on, there are no off days.
Do I sound that way on 1.5 speed?